I've spoken of 1,000 points of light, of all the community organizations that are spread like stars throughout the nation doing good. We will work hand in hand, encouraging, sometimes leading, sometimes being led, rewarding. We will work on this in the White House, in the cabinet agencies. I will go to the people and the programs that are the brighter points of light, and I'll ask every member of my government to become involved. The old ideas are new again because they're not old. They are timeless. Duty, sacrifice, commitment, and a patriotism that finds its expression in taking part and pitching in.
So there you heard George H.W. Bush, bonesman of Yale University, using the phrase 1,000 points of light, which appears to be a nod and a wink to the Illuminati. He's not the only person to have used this, and we'll go through what this term means, but I believe right now we're having a coming out party of the Illuminati, which would make a great name for a song. Points of Light is a non-profit organisation and a network of volunteer-driven communities originally established by President George H.W. Bush that aims to improve volunteerism and civic engagement in the United States and worldwide. These are looking for soldiers. This appears to me to be an army of intelligence officers like the Jesuits, and this all folds into the Jesuits. 1,000 points of light on their system that they can tap into. Spies, I think, is what I'm getting at here. If you know anything about George H.W. Bush, you'll know that he was in Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale with their weird rituals. So was his son, and I believe his father Prescott was as well. J.D. Vance went to Yale University. He was found there by Peter Thiel. A lot's going on here. And it all comes back to this kind of Illuminati corporation that really involves the City of London, which is the Crown Corporation, the Vatican, the Jesuits, Knights of Malta, and Washington, D.C., which all gather around Rome, which goes back to the old cults of Babylon. Now, if you watched Focus just yesterday when it came out, we were talking about the Black Nobility bloodlines. This has a lot to do with it, especially the Jesuits as well. And the Charlie Kirk assassination has the Jesuit, Knights of Malta, Knights Templar fingerprints all over it, in my opinion. This lady here, Kat Kerr, she says that she is a prophetess. I don't know if that's actually a job, but she talks about it here in terms of the Charlie Kirk assassination, saying that 1,000 arrows of light, same thing.
He was getting part of his reward for what he had done. For all the years he had given himself to rescue people, especially the youth. And then when I saw him he had on a quiver. And that quiver, I knew, there were 1,000 arrows of light.
Wow.
In this quiver. And this was part of his reward.
We also find this term popping up in places like the Lucis Trust or the Lucifer Trust. Lucifer obviously is the light bearer or the morning star, which often gets confused with Jesus, who was the bright and morning star. We'll talk about that later. Were they the same entity, or was it the dark side and the light side of a being, and it was symbolic? So this is the affirmation of the disciple for the Lucis Trust. The affirmation of the disciple: I am a point of light within a greater light. There you go. I am a strand of loving energy within the streams of love divine. I am a point of sacrificial fire focused within the fiery will of God, and thus I stand. I am a way by which men achieve. I am a source of strength, enabling them to stand. I am a beam of light shining upon their way, and thus I stand. And standing thus revolve, and tread this way the ways of men, and know the ways of God, and thus I stand. To me, that's an affirmation of I stand for, I stand with, like the Jesuits' affirmation as well. But it's also got connotations there of I have your backing. Now, I believe that most of these secret societies at the top, if not all of them, head into what you would call and I would call the Illuminati, not the Bavarian Illuminati, and Weishaupt is a subsect of that, but the Illuminati name goes back, the illuminated ones, the mystery schools. And this is what these 1,000 points of light are. Not to be confused with the 600,000 sparks of the Iron Soft. Although they do correlate when you look into the Messianic agenda and the Solomon's Temple stuff. H.G. Wells even talked about this. So we have these guys that were initiated into this, and he's coming out with books like War of the Worlds. They know this stuff. They're putting it into sci-fi. So H.G. Wells, best known for being one of the early Fabians, the Fabian Society, once wrote of the Fabian Project. The political world of the open conspiracy must weaken, efface, incorporate, and supersede existing governments. That's what it is. It's infiltrating, Sabbateanism. The characters of the open conspiracy will then be plainly displayed. It will be a world religion. There you go. And we know this is coming. The three Abrahamics are getting to annihilate each other, especially Christianity and those of the Islamic faith. It's going to be a one world AI-driven religion if we don't stop it. And you can see this, and this Christian right have been absolutely used, and Charlie Kirk unfortunately appears to have got himself involved with things that were way over his head. The character of the open conspiracy will then be plainly displayed. It will be a world religion. This large, loose, assimilatory mass of groupings and groups and associates and societies will definitely and obviously attempt to swallow up the entire population of the world and become a new human community, one world government. The immediate task before all people, a planned world state, is appearing at 1,000 points of light. But generations of propaganda and education may have to precede it. That was in 1928. 1,000 points of light. Again, they knew what they were talking about. They put it in their work. Arthur C. Clarke, some fantastic books, of many of which that I really enjoyed, the sci-fi stuff. He even spoke about this in one of his books as well, because these were initiates in the early days, and we know this from Brave New World, from 1984. George Orwell tried to leave these guys, by the looks of it, and blow the whistle on it. Brave New World is just telling you what's happening right now with the hatcheries and these two societies. But Arthur C. Clarke also appeared to know his stuff. The first known instance of the phrase 1,000 points of light appears in Arthur C. Clarke's short story Rescue Party, initially published in Outstanding Science Fiction in May 1946. Well, that can't be true if we have a 1928 version there of 1,000 Points of Light by H.G. Wells. So you can see there's different views of these things, but it doesn't matter. It's the same saying. So it says, one entire wall of the control room was taken up by the screen. This is H.G. Wells' book or short story, Rescue Party. A great black rectangle that gave an impression of almost infinite depth. The black hole, the land of Nod. 3 of Rugon's slender control tentacles, the robot at the desk, useless for heavy work but incredibly swift at all manipulation, flickered over the selector dials, and the screen lit up with 1,000 points of light. This is this is Arthur C. Clarke. Again, them 1,000 points of light to me would be the smart grid. It would be where these agents, these spies for the government, for the Illuminati, way above the government, have infiltrated all these areas, and that's a way of controlling them and seeing where they are, their assets. I would say it relates to the Jesuits out of all of the secret societies. And from 2001 A Space Odyssey, see, the film Kubrick that produced, from Arthur C. Clarke, tracking the chosen ones as 1,000 points of light from the temple. And that was 1968 he wrote, and then came out with A Space Odyssey. So they're telling you these things in different stories of how they're going to do it. And these initiates knew very well, like Kubrick, what was going on. And obviously his last film, Eyes Wide Shut, was shot in a Rothschild mansion. And I believe if you look at one of the stills in there, that you are seeing Prince Carlos, Duke of Castro, of the Bourbon II Sicily families in there, who may have some control over Donald Trump, certainly has control over the Jesuits and the Knights of Malta. So did you know, so the Baphomet as well has other connotations to it. So Baphomet, it's an inversion. Baphomet kabbalistically sets forth the aims of the Illuminati by combining two Greek words, Baphi and Metis, to mean absorption into wisdom. The word is also an acronym for the title Templi Omnium Hominum Passis Abbas, or Father of the Temple of Universal Peace. And when you reverse that, it becomes Temp OHP Ab, which becomes Baphomet. It's written into all of these things. It's absolutely astounding to me. So this phrase, Templi Hominium Passis Abbas, was proposed by Eliphas Levi. So you have this Levi, Anton LaVey kind of connotations there. They take the same names through because of the vibrational impact these words and sounds have on others, as an abbreviation for the word Baphomet by writing the letters of the phrase backwards, Tem or Ab. The phrase itself is also associated with Masonic and occult traditions, often used in connection with concepts of wisdom, understanding, and morality. And if you see, the wisdom and understanding are two of the three higher Sephirot and the Kabbalah tree of life, because these are Lurianic Kabbalists, the Kabbalists. That's why. It's all the same thing. A lot of people won't know that there's something called the Large Binocular Telescope, and it has an instrument that it uses, and this is out in Arizona on some sacred Indian ground. And it has an instrument called the Lucis. Now, this often gets confused with the Vatican. They don't run this one, but there are three on the same mountains. So really, I think that's put there just to confuse people, to get things wrong and then second guess themselves, because there's three telescopes on the same mountain in Arizona. One of them has an instrument called the Lucy or Lucifer. It was changed. So the near-infrared instrument for the LBT, which is the Large Binocular Telescope, the name of the instrument was changed to Lucy in 2012. So it was Lucifer before. So VAT is the actual telescope of the Vatican that is there with this other telescope. There's three of them there, the Trinity of telescopes up in Arizona. So the Vatican astronomers used some of the facilities of the Steward observation, the other one. But in 1993, the 1.8 meter Vatican Advanced Technology Telescope, VAT, opened in Mount Graham in southeast Arizona, this Indian tribal ritual ground. The same year, Steward Observatory Heinrich Hertz Sub-Millimeter Telescope, SMT, also opened on the mountains. So there's three there. A little more than a decade later, the Large Binocular Telescope, this one with the Lucid instrument on it, that opened as well later. So it's the Lucifer. So they're all connected really, but the Vatican don't own the one that uses the Lucifer, allegedly. The LBT is owned and operated by a consortium of institutes in the United States and from around the world. I mean, that's as vague as you could possibly get, isn't it? So there are observatories and telescopes in Arizona that have connections to the Vatican, and one of them has an instrument called Lucy or Lucifer. Looking for the 1,000 points of light, no doubt. Thousands of drones light up Chinese sky in Guinness World Record performance. This was a fair few years ago, but 1,000 lights again. This is a global cult. So when people say it's China versus the US in the AI race, it's absolutely not. They share 46,000 papers as we've gone over. This is a global Illuminati cult, and I believe they have their agents in all walks of life. Could be the Jesuits, or the Jesuits could be just a faction of one of those. Here's the Jesuit logo here. You can see it. The 1,000 points of light in the background. Society of Jesus. Now this was started, the Jesuits, by the funding of the Farnese family. The Farnese are one of the black nobility families that we talked about in Focus just yesterday. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. They are the financiers of Loyola, who started and was the first black pope general of the Society of Jesus, who are the Jesuits, who are their military arm and intelligence arm. This is where we are with it. So when you see the IHS there, and I see that on tombs and gravestones around here where I live, That's the Jesuit. Now, obviously, not everyone who's a Jesuit will be in on this. Many of them won't. But that is the top level. Are they the 1,000 points of light? Perhaps. For the Illuminati? The connections are there, aren't they? I mean, we've got the Vatican there. We've got the Jesuits there. We've got the Knights of Malta there. We've got the Bourbon Two Sicilies there. The Farnese family. So the black nobility family is the top lot. Many that we probably don't even know of. And how does this connect back to Charlie Kirk? Now, when I watched this to me had the Jesuit Vatican Catholic imprint all over it. Erica Kirk is well known to have studied at a Jesuit school. So did Donald Trump. He's Jesuit educated. They have hundreds of schools around the world now. They pick certain students. She's also been seen wearing the Knights of Malta cross, which it could have been the Knights or Order of St. Francis I, which is only given to people by the Bourbon Two Sicilies, but so is the Knights of Malta as well. So they all have different grades and job roles within them, like a corporation would. But it's all symbolic in terms of what the job title doesn't tell you what it does. So she's wearing a Knights of Malta necklace, possibly the Royal Order of St. Francis I, given to her possibly by the Bourbon Two Sicilies. Now, Prince Carlo, who's the head of the Bourbon Two Sicilies, is seen with Donald Trump in Mar-a-Lago. I put this out a long time back. So you have that connection. All these things come together. He's Jesuit educated and connected to the black nobility bloodline who run the Jesuits and run the Knights of Malta. This is the 1,000 points of light. And then you have that lady at the start there who's talking about the 1,000 arrows. This prophetess Cat Kerr talking about the 1,000 arrows. When she's talking about him, we have Kash Patel talking about it, saying that it was 33 hours for them to solve this, which is obviously a Scottish rite of Freemasonry. They all connect in. People argue over who did what and what does what. They all connect in with each other. That's quite obvious to me. They have something called the fourth vow. The Jesuit fourth vow is a vow of special obedience to the Pope regarding worldwide missions, meaning full professed Jesuits pledge to accept any mission, whether they agree with it or not, or it's going to upset them or not, entrusted to them by the Pope for the service of the universal church. The universal church, not just of this world, the whole universe. This vow affects the Jesuits' dedication to serving the greater good. There you go, we heard that in COVID, didn't we? And expresses their commitment to being sent wherever there is the greatest need, as determined by the Pope, for the glory of God and the salvation of souls. The 1,000 points of light. Now, I'm not saying Charlie Kirk's wife, Erica, was involved in any of this, but she clearly was Jesuit educated and wearing the Knights of Malta pendant. So there's some connection there. That doesn't mean if they're involved with this that they've got any say in what they're doing. They have this fourth vow, and it doesn't mean that she was involved in doing it. I don't think there's no evidence to say she was. But this is evidence that there's more going on here. That's the point, pointing this out. This is the coming out party for the Illuminati. The Jesuit blood oath. You can see it there. I won't read it all. But I further promise and declare that I will, when opportunity presents, make and wage relentless war, secretly or openly, against all heretics. I will spare neither age, sex, or condition, and I will hang, waste, boil, flay, strangle, and bury alive these infamous heretics, rip up the stomachs and wombs of their women, and crush their infants' heads against the walls, in order to annihilate forever the execrable race. I mean, that's lovely, isn't it? This is what they take at the top level of the Jesuits. And you think that Donald Trump's not one of the top levels of the Jesuits. He's meeting the Bourbon Two Sicilies at his home. And of course he is. He's well up there with the Jesuits. And now he's on stage with Charlie Kirk's wife. There's something far deeper going on here. And you have Donald Trump here in this clip laughing at the term 1,000 points of light. It doesn't mean it's put out there as a misdirection quite clearly. He is even related to the Bush family. So it's ridiculous to think that these these guys are against each other. Of course they are not. We know this. This is just the most simple and obvious.
You know, all the rhetoric you see here, the 1,000 points of light. What the hell was that, by the way? 1,000 points of light. What did that mean? Does anyone know? I know one thing. Make America great again, we understand.
So, 1,000 points of light, to me, now that's coming back into the thought that Christianity is being pushed basically as a Trojan horse to do what the cult behind Israel want to do. These guys are Sabbatai and Frankists, they are Jesuits, they are secret services for the Vatican, which really is the Holy Roman Church, which really is the Church of Babylon going way back to Samaria, Babylon, and possibly even, as we say, to the Anunnaki and the Atlanteans. Not them specifically, but ones who've taken the secret knowledge. This is the secret knowledge. This is going through all secret societies. They do all interlock, as David says. And the 1,000 points of light is really important. And I think we're starting to be able to decode these things now. You had Erica on stage with sparks of gold going off in fireworks, and people were like, why has she got a WWE style entrance? The reason why the sparks were going up and they were golden is because this is part of the Iron Soft going back up the Kabbalah tree of life to return the fallen sparks. It's the same thing. And then we have the image of Lucifer, who's known as the morning star, and Jesus was known as the bright and morning star. Now, could it be that that's the same character? And that's just a nod to say everybody has a light side and everybody has a dark side. They need duality to make things work. Polarities, we've been over this many times. So I think we're seeing a coming out party for the Illuminati right now, with these 1,000 points of light being their agents that are anywhere and everywhere. And of course there'd be more than 1,000 now. But that's the term that they use and the coding that they use, especially within the Vatican and the Jesuits, City of London, the Crown, the black nobility bloodlines. This is where the true power still is today, and this is being completely missed by most of the alternative media.